No, we're an oil country, and we need American energy, and by the way, American energy production. You wouldn't always know it, but it went up every year I was president. And that whole suddenly America's like the biggest oil producer and the biggest that was me, people. I just want you to so. It's a little like, sometimes you go to Wall Street and folks will be grumbling about anti-business. I said, have you checked where your stocks were when I came in office and where they are now? What are you talking? What are you complaining about? Just say thank you, please. Because I want to raise your taxes a couple percent.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyists.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
Yeah, you're welcome, Los Angeles.
There you go. Good.
You're listening to the Left Opposition Podcast with myself, Aaron, Chris, Doug, and first timer is our friend JR. How you doing, guys?
Hey, good. So we're having some interesting things going on today's show. So a few things we're going to be discussing. Los Angeles is on fire. Second thing, Justin Trudeau, for those of you who don't know, is a president of Canada, according to Aaron. So President Trudeau is resigning. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this thing called Red Note. So we have a special correspondent. I think the official title we're going to go with for him is the Senior Zoomer Social Media Correspondent, JR, who will be going over this because...
Wait, shouldn't we call him like Red Guard if you're going to be on that?
Okay, we can do it. All right, we're
considering what the name of that app translates to. I think Red Guard's an appropriate title.
Okay, so our senior, junior, Red Guard social media correspondent, JR. It's a long title, but hopefully he can explain this to us. So let's just start with that because I am fascinating. I've been on this app now. Is it actually called Red Guard? Is that what it's called?
No, it's Red Note or
Red Book,
or sometimes called Red Book. Which is a reference to Mao's.
Which is why I think Red Guard's still appropriate, because that's what they were in the Cultural Revolution.
That is amazing. I'll be honest. I had the app for 5 minutes. I didn't really use TikTok. Within 5 minutes, I'll be honest, I want to go to China now. I'm not kidding. Have you seen the videos of how beautiful the cities are? It's amazing. There's like LED
they've always been incredible.
I didn't know that until now. Thank you, Mao. But my
feed is completely full of here's how to say hello. Here's how to say thank you. Just hey everyone, welcome to the app. We're all really friendly here. And I'm like, wow, great. People are so fucking nice.
This is amazing. Wonderful. All right. Doug, have you used this app at all yet?
I haven't used it yet.
Okay, because I got 5 minutes.
I've been very busy lately. I kind of want to get on it because, hey, China might be not super revolutionary, but you know what? I'm going to go with this app.
Why not? All right. So, JR, you being the correspondent covering it for the show, how is it? Now, I'm guessing you use the TikTok. When you say the TikTok, it means you're old. So the TikTok, I don't really use it. How is this? Is this any better in your opinion? Give us the lowdown. And this is for our younger kids, our junior audience. So with millennials and people in their 40s, we're good, but we need younger people, JR. So speak the language I don't know how to speak.
Yeah, I mean, in the past week, around 1 million Americans, including myself, right, have migrated over to Red Note in lieu of TikTok, right, which is facing a possible ban on January 19th. And I mean, a million users in the first week is kind of, big deal. You can kind of see the irony, or as we call it, the dialectics of the situation, and of the potential ban move. The far right and the centrists of the US government are attempting to ban an app, because of like fears or something like that of Chinese.
Well, I only
spying.
want American corporations to spy on me, JR. I'm a patriot, okay? I want the CIA only to have my information. So okay, I'll be honest, I do support the ban. I only want Americans spying on me. So that's it.
As far as I know, the TikTok's being banned because that's where a lot of youth were getting their like unfiltered raw footage out of Gaza.
Oh, we can't have that.
That's the part that they don't want to say out loud.
And the U.S. government couldn't control it. So rather than stopping the genocide, they're just like, well, we'll just stop the flow of information instead.
Wait. So you're saying we'd ban free speech over this, Aaron? This is America. I don't know where you're from. Up in
Did we
Canada.
show it on the podcast at one point? They interviewed like one of the guys who founded TikTok or owned it, whatever. And they kept asking him if he's a member of the Chinese Communist Party and he's from Singapore.
Yeah, the CEO of ByteDance, who's a Singaporean, he's not a member of the
It's
Chinese.
like, it's kind of nuts. It's like these people still think China is like what it was in like 1967.
I only wish. I know.
I really want to like all like these hard right people. They're complaining about shit that's not real.
Yeah.
That their permanent victims went pretty much in terms of like the highest levels of government and policy. Like they've won. They're in power.
Yeah.
There is no, outside of obviously people like us, there is no left opposition in mainstream politics. It's all right-wing parties.
Yeah, absolutely. And I
it's
mean,
like you guys have won. It's like there's no war on Christmas. You can spew your reactionary crap and get away with it. You can abuse women. You can just be a Kyle
It's
Rittenhouse
not a deal breaker or
asshole and
any.
do shit.
And
they're like complaining that there's like this great persecution. I really wish there was. I really wish there was the Cultural Revolution type shit being done to these people because they deserve it.
Yeah.
I wish the Democrats were
having like the Democrats had a struggle session. What if that happened and they surrounded people who'd made errors? I might get down with that Democratic Party, but I guess we're not, and we're the capitalist inroaders. I don't know.
They
you're
kind
right.
of do
It's
that,
like-
but with the Singaporean CEO of ByteDance for some reason. So that's their struggle session. Aaron makes a really good point on like the quiet part out loud, which is the fact that like TikTok is a good place to spread information. It's like the internet in its golden era used to be. But either way, like this move from like the far right and the centrists in our government for Chinese spying when they can buy your data for like cheap on the market. I mean, sometimes it's free. Like data is free. You can it's not Chinese
Trump
spying.
legalized that too. Like, right? Did I understand that right? Like Trump made the law that they can just take your data and sell it. So,
the other thing is like this whole thing, like, JR said, it is backfiring on them because it's like they're going on to an openly Chinese app named like that translates to like Red Book. And they're interacting, the million people there with ordinary Chinese people.
Right.
Yep.
Which is like really good. It helps break down like a lot of those like media bourgeois imposed like stereotypes and propaganda. I don't think China is on the road to socialism. There's like questions we can have about the class character, obviously, of the country. But I think the majority of Chinese people are fine. And I don't think their government is running like this complete hyper totalitarian dictatorship or anything. It's certainly, again, it's not on the road to socialism, but it's not this nightmare that it's portrayed as, I think.
Right.
And again, I think that's good. If people are suddenly exposed to Chinese people who have been brought up, at least in some fashion, with the rhetoric of socialism, and they're questioning a million Americans, like, on that image that I see down there or stuff, that's really good.
Yeah,
and if it gets people interested in like the history and the politics of China, regardless of whether you're a Maoist or whatever, I think that's good. And if it gets people questioning American policy, which it certainly seems to, because a million people don't have any problem going on to Red Book.
Right.
Shit.
Here's an exchange example of what's been happening this week. This Chinese person on Redbook asked, "Hey, is it true Americans have to work 2 jobs to survive?" And this person, Midwest Floridian, says, "I work 84 hours a week." And the next person says, "Lots of us working 2 right now. My dad also works 2 jobs."
Yeah.
Is it better there? Like, I really don't like, I'll be honest, like, we always talk about the governments, but I don't know what I know. It's like America. There's certain areas of America where you can probably work a good amount of hours and be okay. I don't know where
I
that
have
is.
a
If you can
friend
let me know where that is, but
I have a friend who lives in China. He's like teaches English, and he's able to afford an apartment. He does have like healthcare through the university he works at, and apparently the rent is fairly cheap. Again, he's in a city.
true,
and
but
everything.
still in a city here. Holy shit! Try Boston.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
it seems like it's affordable. Like he's getting married soon, and he's able to live off of it. He doesn't have to work 2 jobs, and he does have time off. Like he actually has like 6 weeks off, and he's traveling.
6 weeks? Jesus, Scott! I'm sorry.
No, we don't even get
as
that
the
here in
guy that
Canada.
gets like I know. Oh my God! Like we have so in America, like. I don't know, but if you give birth, right? Well, you and your wife, you and your partner give birth. You are entitled to 3 months of unpaid time off. Unpaid, which means they'll hold your job down, but good luck paying your bills. If you're already rich, that's fine, or you have some rich parents. But because when I used to represent people, I work for low wage workers at with SEIU. These are private, like they got the time off, but like she gave birth and she had to get back to work within like almost 3 weeks. Like she
Yeah.
and like it's like my husband's working 85 hours a week while we have a newborn. We don't have any family. Like her, I think her mother has like dementia, so she can't help with anything because she, mom's not okay.
Well, like the Scandinavian countries do have, I forget how much time, but it's like it might be up to a year for both the mother and the father having time off when a kid is born. And obviously when there was the Soviet Union and, the Warsaw Pact, they had maternity leave. They had health care. May not have been the super best in the world, but everyone had it. And, there was, people did live fairly, like much better than in, under capitalism, I think.
Yeah.
I once read an
And
anecdote.
rent was fairly cheap. The problem was, obviously, bureaucracy and, police dictatorship. That's not good. But there were things in like Eastern Germany that we would defend, like everyone pretty much having a home, a job. You
Healthcare.
had like access to like books and everything and healthcare.
And the utilities were very,
Utilities.
very cheap.
And
dirt cheap.
I remember, I don't know if I said this on this podcast, but like back in like 2009 or 10, Glenn Beck was reading shit from the Soviet Constitution in 1977. And he wasn't reading like the really cringy parts, like about the party is like the, enshrined in power. He's reading the stuff about everyone has free education,
right?
Healthcare, a right to live, a home. It's like, all
What a
right,
nightmare.
Comrade Brezhnev.
All right, hey, say what you want, but
Again, I think China, like, to bring it back to China a bit, it certainly has been eroded since like the 70s.
Right.
Even if like, the weird Genghis talk about, the eradication of poverty. And I think that's slightly relative. And I also think like a lot of like the old social protections have been eroded, but some of them are still there.
Right.
And the government obviously sways back and forth with how much it enforces. And it still has a planned sector greatly reduced.
very greatly.
But it's also like, you know what? If you're going to condemn China for that stuff, which I think is fair, you better condemn the U.S. like 1,000 times more because it's 1,000 times worse.
In the U.S., where homelessness went up 18% in the last year, 770,000 something homeless people exist in the United States now. Here's another anecdote. Just another classic exchange that's happening this week. American here. My mom broke her shoulder a few years ago and needed surgery. It costs over $100,000, which is equal to 733,000 won. And the top comment here is too expensive. And then there's a little tab here.
691 replies. So
yeah, because like everyone in China is like, oh my fucking god, you people need to get out of this country. It's insane.
This comment. Yep.
Oh, China doesn't have that problem. Japan, Cuba,
every other country
Britain,
somehow figured
Ireland,
it out.
Sweden, where pretty much any major country you name, medical debt is really only a problem here.
And South Korea.
And yes, the U.S. outpost is South Korea.
So this person
Worst
writes,
Korea,
right?
along
Fake
with Kim
Korea.
Jong Un.
So
Here we
This
go.
is like this is
Juche
where
thought.
you don't want to. I mean, I'm an Orthodox Trotskyist, but you don't want to bleed over into the weird that weird shit.
No, not the deformed worker state.
So,
It is a deformed worker state. It's very deformed. But
Should it be armed with nuclear weapons? A Spartacus question. So there we go. There's some
we can
insight.
get that another time.
That should be its own thing. But oh, Aaron, there's a reply here about the Chinese healthcare system,
Yeah,
which blows my mind.
This person writes the registration fee at a Chinese hospital is approximately $2. The registration fee for specialists is about $10. A blood test costs about $20 to $100. A CT scan is approximately $50. An MRI scan is approximately $100 to $200. And this person writes, that sounds like a dream to us Americans. So many people lose homes and go into debt just to get life-saving treatments because of insurance companies. View 365 replies.
I did want to talk about like
these are the ideas that Americans are being exposed to. Like a lot of the preconceived notions that we're fed by our media it's all being broken down through social media. TikTok was doing that because of the genocide in Gaza, so they had to shut it down. Good luck shutting down an actually owned Chinese company, a Chinese app.
Yeah, you gonna say JR?
Yeah, and that relates to like I guess the biggest question that I don't know, like older generations like have is the algorithm. What is like the algorithm, and how does it tie in? And the reason why you're seeing particularly like a lot of Chinese users post about like Chinese living is because the very first thing when you hop on this app is, oh, I wonder, holy shit, everything's in Mandarin. I wonder how these people are living. And so a good lot of people, due to the algorithm and how it works, it's the same, very similar, if not the same, but very similar algorithm that ByteDance has. It basically ties into like the amount of people searching up certain things, and it connects like certain regions with certain things and how people are searching up. So like when I first hopped on Red Note, all I saw was like how Chinese people were living. And so that ties into the algorithm. That's why a lot of people love the algorithm of TikTok. That's why it works. It's one of the better algorithms, although it is a shitty algorithm, sorry to say, but it's your data, and your data is getting used against you, and people are profiting off of your data. Businesses large and small are profiting off your data, which also works against the American people and constituency, as like so many people on TikTok use TikTok for businesses, whether small or large or whatever it may be. They're using that and they're at threat. So this like dialectical kind of like thing that's going on is like this ban is happening. A lot of people are going to lose money from this. Like small time business owners are going to lose money out of this. And they're moving over to Red Note, which has a similar algorithm. Folks, that's just going to get banned very soon. Like it's even worse. Like Red Note, if they think like TikTok is bad, Red Note definitely can tap into that algorithm a little bit better than like ByteDance has. And so yeah, I mean, when you take a look at like a lot of Americans, like kind of hopping on this app and figuring out like what are their rights versus what are our rights. Like we have very different rights. You have a lot of Americans even asking, what is freedom of speech? Well, folks, simply put, it doesn't matter. It's the internet. It's a private company. You have no freedom of speech at your workplace. If you were to tell Ted he's a severe screw up for doing his job, you probably would get a repercussion for that. It's not freedom of speech. You don't have that at private corporations, and you don't have that on TikTok, and you certainly don't have that on any other private corporation such as Facebook and other platforms like Twitter or X, Threads, or whatever it may be, and even YouTube and whatnot. And so you're starting to see a lot of people not only mass exiting TikTok, but also exiting Twitter, because who owns Twitter? Facebook, especially after lately with the LGBTQ reversal of protections that Facebook has had, and Threads and Instagram even. And so people are rushing over to a new app to really tap into that algorithm, especially small businesses now. And so that's why you're seeing a million Americans in the first week. Charts are probably projected to like see more than, I would say, probably 5 to 10 million Americans in the first, I don't know, month, I would say, which is a really huge number.
Yeah. I hope it does wake people up a little bit. First of all, like you said, to it's not it's a losing battle to just play whack-a-mole with the government like this. Yeah. And we're not really doing something like all, yeah, obviously the government's not happy about it, but it's not a revolutionary thing to then be like, yeah, we're gonna join this other Chinese app. But like I do see people, I see like super normie fucking people posting videos crying, being like, I didn't know that like Chinese people could just buy groceries and have one job and it's not even 40 hours a week. Like, so it's like, yeah, man.
$10 for a blood test. What is this hellhole? Like,
yeah. I thought everyone had to like eat their own eyeballs and like sell their organs to live in China.
What is happening here?
Yeah.
They have LED lights on skyscrapers and it's beautiful. Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and I hope that wakes people up and makes them start to think more about turning on the government a little bit rather than
about what's possible. It's
like what app can make us the most,
How is it that this massive country, 3 times the size of population of the US, how is it that they figured out healthcare? Because healthcare is a big thing for people, especially in the era of Luigi Mangione.
So, I mean, the irony really, and Joe kind of, touched on it, is that like the effort to ban, the Chinese Communist Party, from is like that whole effort is now completely backfiring times 10. It seems like the worst thing this app can do in their eyes, really, it's not, unfortunately, this is not going to convert people to become diehard Red Guard Maoists or communists or anything like that. It's the fact that they're just going to realize that Chinese working class people are just the same as them. Like, oh, you're regular folk. You have the internet. You can talk on the internet. But
yeah. My favorite backfire is I guess thousands of offers that billionaires have put out to buy TikTok without the algorithm, which is really fucking hilarious. Like if they bought the algorithm or if they bought it without the algorithm,
that's the whole thing.
It's useless. You're just wasting money, which is amazing. Like kudos.
The whole thing is like, it's like it's not just backfiring, it's like just like a self-inflicted wound. Like you didn't have to do that. Obviously it's coming out of like stuff with Gaza and everything, but it's like I don't think they've ever done this with like Twitter or Facebook or something. But here's like this huge platform. I mean I have a TikTok account, but I've never really used it.
Same.
And you're suddenly going to alienate like potentially millions of people by doing that, because you don't want to, you want to keep arming an apartheid regime that's killing kids. Right. That's your big thing. And, the TikTok, users were actually like showing like unfiltered footage of it.
Or even worse, like they've never done that with like Live Leak, for an example, which is, defunct now. So
yeah.
But like, I think TikTok played a big role in radicalizing youth against the Israeli apartheid state. For the first time, generations rejected this narrative that Israel has a right to defend itself.
Right, because if you turn on MSNBC or Fox News or CNN, it's right now, like they were just talking about the ceasefire deal on ABC this morning, because I just put on TV just when I get ready in the morning, and all they're talking about is the hostages. And when the host is talking, he's in front of the pictures of all the hostages. Like that's it. And they showed like one picture of like a crying kid from Gaza, and that was it. But like the only focus and Israel probably killed most of these people anyway. Like it'll come out. I guarantee you, most of them were killed by them. But that's it.
It's also like even you're right about it's only Israeli hostages that are being shown. You're not seeing like the thousands of Palestinian hostages and prisoners. And if you're gonna say free the hostages, okay. I'm actually fine if you want to free the Israeli hostages, but free all the Palestinian ones too.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. 12-year-olds in jail for throwing a rock at a tank.
That would be, it's like, free the hostages, then free all of them. Yeah. But, it's like, I'm not, I'll say this in this circle. This is, to me, what happened on October 7th was like Nat Turner's rebellion in 1831. It's a slave revolt. It's a concentration camp revolt. And maybe, in some abstract world, I can condemn those specific actions, but I will not condemn colonial people who are fighting for their freedom against an oppressive apartheid regime.
Yeah. And they went after military and went to military bases and soldiers and they have guns. That's legitimate. Like,
there's all kinds of questions I will bring up if we want on like, what I think about the Palestinian leadership, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And I'm fine having that discussion in our circles because, I would, again, I'm a communist. I think they should have communist leadership. But then again, I think everyone should have communist leadership. So
no, we got into this.
Discriminate in that regard.
I had a bit of a long form discussion on this very podcast called "The Problem of the Israeli Proletariat."
That was a good, yeah.
Those, Doug and I are probably very similar in agreement from that episode. So I encourage folks to go on to that. Do we have anything else to discuss on this?
On this thing. So if you can go on, soon
Well,
enough we'll have it
you
on.
should get a red book quotations of Chairman Mao Zedong to go with that.
There we go. Wait, no, Jared, you didn't. Oh, wait, one thing with Jared, one question for you. Did you try to write the word Bolshevik in Mandarin and had a problem with it?
I think it was a UI issue with typing anything in Chinese from like a different region.
Okay.
So they might like I'm not too sure the way that it works, but I'm assuming that like they don't want you to type anything in your bio that might like they're just like it's a quick fix like before they like implement any other like I guess like solvents to like Americans rushing over and like typing in their bio Tiananmen Square in Chinese.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
I have to imagine you can type communist there because they're probably odds are there are party members.
Not in Mandarin. I've tried typing communist. I've tried typing anything in Chinese. I couldn't get anything to fix in my bio. So I'm assuming it's a quick fix.
Maybe they think you're a spammer, like maybe that's it. Like, like if someone in like, I don't see any people in Mandarin language coming onto Facebook. Maybe
exactly. It is a rather quick, it is a rather sophisticated app, which is really nice. Like if you take a look at like when you start a profile, it says you can only change your name 3 times in a span of a month. You can only change your bio in the span of 3 times in a month. Same thing with your profile picture and your cover photo. So there seems to, and this is probably due to like maybe deterring like bots, deterring trolls, deterring like outside influence, which is I like it. I don't like, people like whenever I'm playing video games, I don't like people changing their name on Steam so that I have to, if they're a hacker or they're a cheater or they're a troll, like I have to like, keep searching them up just to get them banned and all that jazz. So I'm sure it's probably similar like sophistication with this app to deter things like that from happening. So which is the reason why maybe I wasn't able to type something in Mandarin in my bio. It's just a quick fix before they put some sophistication to it.
Okay. All right. So maybe
did you guys touch on the possible reversal of the ban too?
I just heard about that right before we went on about now if I get it right, Biden wants them to be exempt from it, like the White House, like they still, because obviously TikTok is still used worldwide, but I think they want to, they're like, oh no, only a few of us should be able to have TikTok. The rest of you can go pound sand.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I think they might be trying to delay the ban though, because I saw Ed Markey, who's our senator, Massachusetts people, who voted for the ban, but
way to go.
But then he introduced a bill to
give them like like another 270 days to sell.
Why 270?
Because I don't know,
why,
but
why not 365 or 270
for the electoral college? I don't know, but
it seems like it's a bill that's proposed to fail, to attempt to like hey, I tried to do something.
Yeah, that might be, but also I think they're freaking out because TikTok said that they're just going to shut down on Sunday and not like 19th. Just let it die a slow death by being removed from app stores. So people are going to notice right away my fucking TikTok app is just gone. I can't even like use it and like, oh, it's slower now. And then like eventually,
from my understanding, they could region lock the US. So they could like entirely like shut it down for the US sector and leave it for other sectors.
But so that's what happened. And I think the government's freaking out about that because they they were just hoping that a U.S. company would buy it. They were just hoping they would have a U.S. buyer, and they haven't. And then they also just don't want that immediate disappearance to happen. So now they're freaking out about it. Biden said he might even take executive action on it. So like,
Yeah, TikTok will not sell with that with the
a
algorithm.
pyromaniac starts a fire, then he shows up with like a bucket of water, like, hey, you want that? Which could lead into our next segment about the LA fires.
I would love to see Biden try to explain what TikTok is.
It's a series of tubes.
My wife said that maybe they're doing this because they all like went home for the holidays and their grandkids were like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah, and another thing about like the prolonging of the ban, real quick, is like the Supreme Court can be posed to like, prolong and give it some time before Trump comes into office, which probably won't happen because the US Supreme Court has already made like there's been like court documents revealing like their conversations about like the ban, and a lot of them are not like they don't like to talk. They want to ban it. Even the new Supreme Court justice, I forget her name.
Oh yeah, the one that Biden
Ketanji.
appointed.
Yeah.
Jackson Brown.
She's even like against TikTok. She wants it banned as well. So a lot of these like the Supreme Court they might be posed to like not give TikTok more time. It might happen, and Trump might actually pull through on his promise that like he won't, like he'll put an executive order down and try to get TikTok exempt or not banned. But I'm a bit of a pessimist. I think it'll get banned. Red Note will probably get banned. A bunch of billionaires will lose their money trying to either purchase the app outright without the algorithm, which is a stupid move, but waste your money, go right ahead, which kind of sucks because that is our money, but nonetheless. This is going to suck for small businesses the most, without a doubt. Like a lot of small businesses like operate on TikTok. Transferring that following base that you have on TikTok to any other app is nigh impossible. It's basically
you lose like 90% of your engagement.
Yeah, you're rebuilding from scratch, and it's trying to tap into that algorithm. Might be a little bit easier on Red Note, but why would you want to when obviously Red Note could be banned, in the coming months as well, similar, to the case of TikTok. And they might just do an outright ban on all apps. So a lot of people are frenzying, over this, and there's going to be a lot of frenzy from small businesses over the next couple of months. And this is really going to be probably the most harmful to small businesses. And I'm not a big fan of small businesses, but these are different small businesses than like your average, mom and pop shops. These are like people who just like
individuals selling their shit. That's all it is.
They're content creators. There are people who post information about news that CNN or Fox News won't cover. There are people who make money off of other forms of selling content, and it's gonna impact them the most, which kind of sucks. I do have a soft spot for those folks because that's where I get my news. That's where Gen X gets our news. That's where Zoomers get our news, is through these means, and those guys are going to be wiped out completely through this.
Yeah. I mean, I created, and I run with a few other people, some like Doug and Joe, I think too, like being a socialist on Facebook, like that. It just like, I got in when the algorithms it wasn't paid for content. Like if you made a good meme and it got shared a lot, you'd grow your audience, and that stopped once they started monetizing the shit out of everything. But I couldn't start that. I mean, I just started an Instagram page on it. I might get one of my posts got like 900, 1,000 reactions on Facebook, and I got 12 on Instagram. It's just about timing. The timing's
It's also
wrong.
the same with YouTube. Like certain stuff, there's the algorithm. Like 10 or plus years ago, there were like no ads on YouTube.
Yeah, none.
And now it's like everything is monetized
every 2
there.
minutes, dude.
Like I know, like some of us here are fans of like the World War II channel.
Whoa.
And I have questions about their politics, but I think on the whole they put out some great content.
Good military
and
history.
They frequently complain, like a lot of their videos are like not promoted because of the algorithms, blah blah blah, which kind of sucks because it's like also, that's actually great content you should have promoted, and instead it's like all like these right-wing assholes and whatever bourgeois companies
like
putting out shit.
Like PragerU is considered an act.
I'm glad that you brought that up as well, is because this all ties back to net neutrality and what happened in the 2010s. Like, this is the crux of the whole issue, is like all these apps became 100% more defective since net neutrality was the regulations were repealed and whatnot. So now more and more people who actually put money towards these things, they get their content pushed. Similar in the case of YouTube, since
I
YouTube
think
is owned by
privatization
Google.
doesn't work, because that sounds crazy to me. Come on, let the market forces. If you have a lot of money, you should be the first in line. What's wrong with that? This is America, baby.
Yeah, privatization of the internet is really
God help us.
It's the reason why
it's turned Twitter and YouTube and Facebook like virtually unusable at this point.
I don't use Google anymore. I mean, I use Bing. It's not much better, but like Google, because they have that new fucking CEO. I forget his name. If you listen Better Offline, he does a good job on. He used to write for Wired, but it's just like I just used to type like need a mechanic, and I get 16 ads about like buying parts for cars and stuff. And then it's like other ads for a mechanic in Michigan. I'm like, I just used to Google around me and it'd give me a list. I can't even get that off Google anymore. Like, it's crap. It's unusable. I cannot use Google for anything anymore. It's complete dog shit. So, but no. So, Bing, if you want to give me $10 for saying that, that's cool with me. Just saying, go Bing.
So in the time it takes to ban Red Note, I really hope that at least a few million Americans get exposed to what life is like in China, and talk to working class Chinese, Chinese folks, and actually like see through a lot of the bullshit that they're fed. That being said, I think it's time to move on.
All right.
Back to some domestic politics.
I got something for you.
We can talk about Trudeau. We can talk about the LA fires. LA fires kind of.
We said domestic, so we're not doing international yet, Aaron. Okay, this is unlike like Red Note. We are a domestic American show. International will come next, and then you can talk all about this fancy War of 1812 that I never heard of before. So. All right, awesome. So if you want to share a screen, I got a bit of an opener here. It's just a couple minutes here, but I'm gonna put this up. So this is from, let's see here, and I have to share the sound here. Okay. All right. Everyone see me? Good. Okay. So, Bill Burr, for those of us in Massachusetts, Bill Burr is one of our own, and he has some opinions on the LA fires, and maybe a fan favorite of the show. No spoilers, but here we go.
I can't see it. What are you talking about?
You can't. I'm doing share. Can everyone else see my screen? It. Oh, Aaron, maybe you can stop sharing screen on your end.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Well, now everyone sees me. Now you can see me.
Messes up my Twitch thing now.
Okay.
I gotta readjust.
Oh yeah, I see. The Twitch stream is moving. Yeah, on the Twitch stream I still see yours. I see us.
No, don't worry about the Twitch stream.
Okay. Sorry, Twitch stream.
Okay, it's been a lot easier. Just send me the link.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll pause at the top. They can hear it. It's only gonna be quick, and then I'll put it back to you. So, all right. So, Bill Burr, here we go.
Evacuate your home. Yes. Like most people, I had to. I got lucky, the winds moved, but, the fire was coming and all that stuff. So I feel lucky. Are you guys back? And I think everybody did a great job. Yeah. Unlike the internet, Yeah, right. I know. It's right. Oh, my God. All of these fire experts. Why didn't you just fly a helicopter into the ocean? And then just, I don't know, because there was 100-knot winds. You want to do that? You want to do that at night, you lunatic? How are you? This was definitely mismanaged. That's a big word we're hearing now. Mismanaged, like some idiot on the internet knows how to manage the worst fire in LA, sitting there in his underwear. You know what? Looking at the footage on the internet, I have determined that this here was mismanaged. You know about helicopters because I remember, and it's interesting now thinking about it, because you said that. About it. I know about the one that I fly. Other than that, I don't know anything about it. But if you're on the internet, you know everything. I hope you know about it, because you said that you got your pilot's license in case like all hell broke loose in LA, you could get out of LA. And at any moment, did you think, I'm going to make a run for that helicopter? Well, the error in my thought was I didn't realize how expensive helicopters were. All I have is a two-seater, and I didn't want to have to make Sophie's choice with my family. So, We all piled into the SUV like everybody else. But no, man, these guys were out there clearing the trees, getting the wires back up and everything. You know, I mean, it was like the perfect awful thing that could have happened, and it did. And I love how all the chatter out there is about bands of illegal immigrants and homeless people lighting fires. They light fires every day. They're living outside. They're cold. And this theory that some homeless guy without a car went from Altadena all the way to the Pacific Palisades, and then we have a hang glider. You know, and they're talking about looting, but CNN and Fox News are not going to bring up the insurance companies that are just going to keep everybody's premiums and still give themselves a bonus. Yes. Free Luigi! I love how they acted surprised. Why did that happen? I have no idea. He wrote on the bullets why it happened.
Oh, we're back to Luigi. Okay, yeah.
I never left Luigi.
How is Bill Burr the father, the husband?
All right, so I just wanted to share that I did see that on there, but all right. So that was our lead-in for the next segment here we have for the Los Angeles fires. Obviously, a horrific thing going on right now, and there isn't. So the Revolutionary Communists of America did put out a pretty decent article. If you can put that on screen, Aaron. So a few things I did like from it, and I'm just going to read from it, and then we can discuss, but here it is here. So, and this quote I like: "There is no doubt that the climate crisis is to blame for increasingly intense and unpredictable weather, including the unusually strong Santa Ana winds that are fueling the conflagration. 11 months ago, an atmospheric river caused devastating flooding and mudslides across Southern California. Today, abnormally dry conditions prevail in the same region. It hasn't rained in Southern California for 8 months. That didn't stop Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass from slashing the fire department's budget by nearly $18 million. Instead, she chose to add $138 million to the already the LAPD budget. Incapable of protecting people from disaster, capitalist politicians are preparing to protect their class from social consequences of the system's decay and the disasters it produces. As they've gutted funding for fire prevention, California's politicians increasingly rely on cheap prison labor to put out fire-paying prisoners $1 for a day for life-threatening work. 1/3 of the firefighters combating the LA blaze are prisoners, slave laborers earning little more than commissary money." And the exit part here too is about the privatization of the water system. And it says right here, "Not only are the fire departments short-staffed, but hydrants are already running dry. This is a direct consequence of the 1994 Monterey Plus Agreement, which privatized taxpayer-funded water facilities and deregulated the market for buying and selling water. The agreement ended the policy of urban interference in times of drought, which under California's water would be the first allocated to urban centers for drinking and putting out fires." And then it goes on here too, the immediate emergency response has been abysmal, but the aftermath will be devastating too. As the climate crisis rages, private insurers have cut coverage at risk or quote-unquote unprofitable areas. State Farm canceled more than 72,000 California policies in April 2024, including 1,600 homes in the Pacific Palisades, where nearly 20,000 acres and over 5,000 structures have been incinerated. Insurance firms charge huge premiums, and they do everything they can to avoid paying out claims. They pick and choose to cover areas where they will earn the highest profit, leaving those of the greatest need unprotected. So that was just from the RCA. I thought it was a very well done article. The fact, and I like what Bill Burr brought up too, is that, this is what the insurance CEOs did. They knew this was coming. There was an LA firefighter, and I hate to quote him because this is from Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan has a clip from July, I think, of 2024, and he was talking about how he was talking to a firefighter, and the firefighter said, someday a fire's going to start under the right conditions, with the right wind and and it's going to just devastate Southern California. Like I said, there hasn't been rain for 8 months. I mean, remember that? Remember the atmospheric river? I forgot about it until I read last year. That was rain that wouldn't stop raining, and it was destroying that area. Now we've gone to the exact opposite, and you still have people on the right who think climate change is fake, that this isn't really happening, but clearly this is happening. We have privatized. The water is this weird thing where it's technically public, but it's really privately owned kind of thing where you have You know, the who's the people that own 80% of the water? They make pecans. Almonds. I can't think of their names, but so that's been going on since the 90s.
The Resnicks, I think.
Thank you, the Resnick family who own 80%. Like I said, they're. I mean, the areas around it look like the moon in the Central Valley. How much they've devastated all the water out of it, but it's just insane how bad this is. And I mean, you have the people on the right saying that it's homeless people or illegal immigrants. Like, did they cause the 100-mile-an-hour winds that came? But like, it's just
Did they somehow like cause it an 8-month drought? Right?
Yeah,
with no rain,
right. It's just insane. Like, it's like, I mean, whenever there's like a massive hurricane that hits Alabama or the deep South and the very conservative Trump-loving areas, no one's going, well, are they managing the houses? Why don't they build better homes? Why should we be bailing them? But the response from the right to the fires is like, well, we need to manage this money. They're talking about fucking DEI and everything as if like that's the problem of why it happened versus let's put the fucking fire out and figure it out later. And then why can't they drop water? And then Bill Burr made it really good point. Like, they can't fly in 100-mile-an-hour gusts of wind. It's like, you can't. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just one dumb thing after another.
It's also like, he brought up in that clip, like all like the conspiracy shit. And it's like these people, the conspiracist mindset is so debilitating to critical thinking. You think it's all like caused by like these evil cabals who are pulling the strings, that everything is going exactly according to some plan, but you figured it out because you watched some dipshit moron who did a YouTube video about it. And it's like they can't ever accept that, obviously this is caused by, in a wider sense by like climate change, etc. But for all we know, someone just dropped a match when they like lit a cigarette and
that happened in 1992.
It's like just some accident that did it.
Right.
And these people have to, they have to blame the most vulnerable and exploited people in society because they're fucking dipshit assholes.
Right.
And,
exactly.
They're not gonna, and like you said, they're not gonna blame these fucking insurance companies, who are not gonna do anything.
Right. Right. And that's no, in Arizona, like what was started like a 5,000 acre brush fire was because some idiot, we know those stupid gender reveal parties, they decided to blow up with a bunch of like a machine gun, like some tannerite. They got a shitload of tannerite. If you know what tannerite is, it's explosive. And he got like a ton of it, blew it all up, and then it started a massive fire. That wasn't illegal. It was like an American citizen. Not that it fucking matters, because the conditions for these fires are by man-made climate change. It's man-made climate change that makes the conditions. The spark that does it, no matter if it was, I think the 1992 fire when I was a kid, it was someone was barbecuing and their barbecue fell over and it all went up, that's the whole thing. It's not forest management or any of that shit. Like, I mean, you can try to mitigate some of it, but it's not a conspiracy theory. Yeah. It's just the conditions and wind.
Yeah.
Wind.
Like this is a catastrophic fire. And the wells ran dry because they were so fucking overwhelmed. It's not because they're just for the fuck of it. They're just opening all the fire hydrants and letting all the water drain into the ocean.
There are structural reasons. Like I know, like in Los Angeles, like I think the mayor shifted a bunch of funding away from the fire department to the police, which has also hampered them. Like, talk about those things if you're actually and a few months ago when they had the hurricanes in North Carolina, you had was it Marjorie Taylor Greene or one of those morons who were thinking there's some kind of Biden was controlling the weather. If he's controlling the weather, why isn't he making good harvests? Why isn't he being some Democrat Stalin, making all the grain come up or something?
Yeah.
It's just freaking bizarre. It's these people are just so they're just saturated in this irrationalism and shit, which obviously, goes part and parcel with their bad politics and everything.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's got, because we live under capitalism, it's got such a wide pull. Trump will say something and, Fox News will repeat it. Any of these maggots say it, you hear it on talk radio or wherever.
So, but there's so much. There is a lot of a lot of the time people will blame whatever entity, anything but capitalism, and so they'll blame the government. What does the government do? Well, you know what, the city does bear some blame for this because they cut the firefighting budget by $18 million.
Right.
They give $138 million more to the cops, to the LAPD, who, in the last year alone, face a combined total of $100 million in misconduct lawsuits. So that, like, this is where your money's going. Like, what are you going to shoot the fire? So good job, LA.
Smart move.
And Biden also took the opportunity at a press briefing to announce that he's a grandfather. So this is towards the end of his presidency, where
a great grandfather.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh God! Damn.
And
He's a great war criminal too.
It's the end of his presidency. He oversaw an insane boom in oil drilling. He approved more permits than the Trump administration, with the U.S. producing an all-time record of 4.6 billion barrels of oil. And what does Trump do? Trump took the opportunity to shit on windmills and promised he will do everything he can to cancel renewable energy project.
Right where we are in Massachusetts.
So, yes, you should blame the government, but blame them for the right reasons. Please don't blame them for the fucking nonsense DEI shit. Like, I'm so sick of this term. It's all
right.
Just be honest with yourself and say the N-word.
Yeah, it's really amazing how like that shit is actually just an unbroken chain from like the Southern strategy. Like those terms have changed so many times in our lifetimes, but like it's always the same fucking thing. Because before DEI, it was CRT, and before that, it was it was like BLM and Antifa for a bit, and it was political correctness before that. It's like there's always some fucking thing. And you listen to that clip of Lee Atwater that leaked, where he's explaining the Southern strategies to some reporter, and he was like, yeah, I know you just have to keep abstracting it because like you can't just say the N-word anymore. So now we're talking about forced busing and tax policy and shit, but it's the same thing.
Right. Culture. Yeah. So speaking of that, another thing I wanted to bring up too. So some of the really dumber conspiracy theories too. So here's one. This is from Parker Cardwell on Twitter. And this is the tweet for our listeners. I just heard from my brother, a firefighter in Central Oregon, that the 60 fire trucks the state sent to support the Los Angeles fires are being held up in Sacramento for emissions testing. They likely won't pass inspection and won't be able to help. What a joke. Okay, so this has been going around a lot. I heard this from one of my dipshit right-wingers at work, and I want to put the date. It's January 10th, right? At 3:26 p.m. Note the time. Next slide. And I just want to go to the next slide. And here we go. This is from the Oregon State Fire Marshal. And it says, the Oregon strike teams arrived Thursday and were assigned to the Palisades fire. 11 of the teams began their assignments this AM. This was on the 10th. So this was actually done, let me see, right before a few hours. So if she just checked, a few hours later, they're already there helping with the fire prevention. This could have been checked. This is how lazy the right is. They won't even bothering to they're just spreading misinformation about all this shit when clearly the Oregon firefighters were already there, hours on the ground. So this is just more of this really dumb stuff that we have to deal with.
A small example of the bullshit we have to put up with on these social media sites. And then these fucking morons are flabbergasted as to why youth are flocking to Red Book.
Yep, my God. Another one here. Dr. Naomi Wolf, not related to Naomi Klein, just for the record, that comes up sometimes. I thought it was the same. I thought she just got Laura Logan brained or something, but she had a comment here. This looks like a black and white fire because it's night vision, and she goes, "This looks like some sort of bomb or attack, not a wildfire." Like this is just more dumbass opinion on
Bill Burr, the fire experts.
Right. Yeah, they're right.
They all come out of the woodwork.
Yep. I looked at a photo. This is it here. And this other one. Are your friends in LA not reacting to danger in an expected way? Are they almost in a trance? Multiple confirmations independently that suggest that this is the case, including from a therapist who said her patients are not reacting normally. Could a mood stabilizer of some kind be what was sprayed, or due to weather manipulation waves in trained human thought patterns in some way? We are there in history and must ask the questions.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Doctor.
These people are not serious, and this person pays for Twitter, so you can already it's a good bet you can dismiss their opinion.
Yeah, this is just I mean, and this actually it's sad because this got almost 3,000 likes, which is sad, that there's 3,000 idiots out there, but no. What is like? I talked to a therapist. No, you didn't. And like mood, the weather manipulation shit is the dumbest shit in the world and everything. And then the last one she came up with, there's a picture of a fire here, and it says fires ramp up adrenaline. Well, thank you, doctor. Per Dr. McCullough, adrenaline surges cause the cardiac arrest we see in the formerly healthy vaccinated, including young people. Is the fire also a narrative getting rid of evidence of former damaged to healthy humans? So she's thinking they're trying to set fires to burn down some COVID vaccine. Like this is we got 4 years of this shit. Like where this is going to be the official government policy.
I mean, they were saying all that shit about like the vaccines too. Like,
Right.
you know, it's going to give you 4G. It's like all this, it's going to, you know, the vaccine passports. It's the same irrationalist crap, you know, that we should, and instead we should take fucking horse dewormer or it's, you know, the COVID's just a cold. It's like all this dumb shit.
My favorite.
And now it's just being transferred to these fires because like these people actually can't critically think. They all went to Bible school and they didn't even read that.
Yeah, my favorite is like the vaccine has like chips, like a microchips in it, and then but like, hey, by all means, let's get behind Elon Musk, who's going to come save us, who literally owns a brain chip company.
No shit. I'm like, you know, they got tracking devices. Go, do you have one of these in your pocket with you at all times, dude? Yeah. You have this with you. That's your tracking device that you willingly carry on.
Yeah.
Well, that's different. No, it ain't. You know, like it's like it's.
I
just
mean, it's
like,
different in the sense you pay X number of dollars per month for it.
right? Yeah, I know, but it's just like. We used to laugh at people like this 15, 20, like Jenny McCarthy was like vaccines cause autism. And now these people are running the government. And it's like, what the fuck?
And you know,
like,
it goes to show when assuming we have socialism here, and I'm going to assume yes.
Hey.
You know, these ideas will not have a place at the table. It's like if you have a debate on like certain things, you certainly have like different points of view. But if you're debating science, like the theory of evolution, creationists are not at that table because they're not talking about science. If you're talking about the history of the Holocaust deniers are not welcome at that table because they're fucking Nazis who don't know history. And if we're talking about like policy for like health and safety, these fucking morons don't belong there. They belong in a fucking re-education camp until they get over their fucking fear of a jab, because it's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to save your lives and probably the lives of your family. And I'm like, you know, call me a fucking tanky if you want. Those people deserve a fucking re-education camp if they're going to spew those views. They don't belong in polite society if they're going to endanger people with their fucking anti-vax views, their irrationalism, their mysticism. And the sad thing is, they're not like you said, they're not isolated enclaves. These are people in the fucking government.
Right. That's like, and that's exactly it. We got Doug the Buzzsaw with us today. Welcome aboard, man. All right. But like, that's the thing. Like, no, like this is stupid. Like, I just, how, like we're going backwards. Like, so Rosa Luxemburg's line, it's either socialism or barbarism, always rings true to me. Like in these times, right? Because we're going to either go forward or backwards. And under capitalism, it's because we can't just say climate change, because that'll piss off oil and the fossil fuel industry, which own the government. We can't have that shit. So that's bad. That means we have to reduce things. We consume less. And that's all, like, we're fucked really with it right now. Like, I'm sorry, folks. Like, you know, if Kamala Harris came in, I'd be saying the same thing. Maybe with like some, like, at least we don't have to believe that, you know, there's like they're trying to set these fires to hide vaccine shit. Like, the Democrats suck, but I don't think they're that bad on a vaccine, which is some very early 13th century technology we learned with like the plague of how it works in some small ways, you know? But holy fuck, man, it is fucking bleak.
I'm less concerned about clowns like this and more explaining to people how capitalism has made these fires far worse than they needed to be, right? And or like how, like, the horrors of capitalism that it's involved in even putting them out. 30% of the firefighters on the ground are prisoners, making like $1 an hour, and afterwards they're like, once they get that out, they are not allowed to be hired by fire departments despite having like a decade of firefighting experience. That being said, those prisoners on the ground are saying, we have never felt this sense of welcoming and community, and we actually want to be here because people are cheering us on. They're thanking us. And, you know, like, these are our streets too. We grew up here and we're fighting for them. And it's going to be that sense of community is what prevents recidivism and going back to jail. And look at these guys. They're all talking like Hassan Piker. For all my problems with him, he hit the streets and he's actually talking to workers, and good for him. These guys are all smiling because of the treatment that they've gotten. Far more humane than just being in the nightmare that is the American prison system.
Well, one guy was saying like, like you said, they were getting this sense of community there, and he said something very telling, which was like, we never had that growing up.
Yeah,
it was like, oh, so you're telling me that people who end up in prison had like horrible family lives, or like lived in dangerous neighborhoods, or they were poor, or like it's interesting that this guy says that specifically about growing up, not just like, oh, this is better than prison. It's like, no, my whole life has been hell, and this is what the government does, is they put me in a cell, and now like I get to be happy that they're letting me fight a fire for $2, like
right. It's not like they could like pay him like the prevailing wage, and when they get out, they can like get back on their feet, like, because a lot of the times when they get out of prison, they got nothing. Like, no one's gonna fucking hire you with with a conviction on there. You're not gonna get a job, and you got no money. So at least if they could put a nest egg that, like, hey, when you get out, you got thousands of dollars to like try to start. You're trying to get like just to get a home, you get housing, because I've had a lot of. The opioid epidemic took out a lot of my friends, and a lot of them went to jail. And so that's why I'm familiar with the struggles they went through. And it's like, if you want to get housing, no one's going to take you because you have a record. So you have to go into housing with other criminals who will take you in bad areas. And then what they do, they meet all their bad friends and they start doing bad shit together. And then they go back to jail. It's like, I've seen this. I mean, I have friends gone in and out of the prison system repeatedly because of drug addiction. Like I said, nonviolent. They didn't do anything bad. One guy tried to rob the fast food place he worked at, but it was okay because he was robbing his friends. It doesn't matter. He a good friend of mine, just made some poor choices, in life, but because he's not a great. Anyway, that's another side story. But like, give people a chance to get back on their fucking feet. I mean, look, they paid their, like, whatever they did. They paid their dues. They did their time. Give them a second chance. Jesus Christ, man. Like, just, we can't do that here, because we have to be tough on crime. So great. So thank you to the fires, even the fucking slave labor that's doing it. You guys are heroes. So thank you for your service. So thank you. Good job.
So it's hard to look at the footage of the burnt houses and neighborhoods that are just completely erased without thinking of Gaza. And the fuck's her name? Jamie Lee Curtis actually said, like, yeah, this place really looks like Gaza. And I think that's a really important point to consider. A lot of comparisons have been made with the resemblance. And I would say these struggles are linked, right? Rich celebrities, they can go into hotels, but like, vast majority of people can't.
Well, they have a second and third home, that helps too.
LA is a massive example, probably the biggest example of the wealth inequality that the United States sees. California is home to 186 billionaires. And so the most of any state. And so there's a lot of wealth in this, but it has some of the most homeless people as well. Their infrastructure is abysmal. There's no bus lines. There's no subways to evacuate, right? There's nowhere to go. But the struggles are linked, right? The U.S. needs an empowered Israel to isolate Iran and remain as an imperialist foothold to take control of Middle Eastern oil by keeping the whole region destabilized. The burning of oil for profits and shareholders is what's fueling climate change, and it will be paid for by the charred bodies of Gazan children and destitute poor people in Los Angeles. Other ways capitalism has made this worse. The fire insurance, I think somebody mentioned that already. Last year, State Farm and other insurance providers canceled or quintupled people's policies and premiums, leaving thousands of working class people without policies and coverage because it was no longer profitable. It's the same thing with Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. None of those people had flood insurance because they live in the fucking mountains.
Right. Exactly.
This is another crazy thing too that I saw was the evacuation orders. They were given way too late, and some people on Twitter were saying that it took them 4 tries to 4 different websites to find evacuation orders because the first 3 articles that they came across were hidden behind fucking paywalls. Like evacuation orders are hidden behind paywalls. So yeah, good job, America, you fucking morons. Your country sucks.
Yeah, I agree. We do.
So, at the end of the day, climate change is not a local or national problem. It is global. and it will affect billions of people around the world. Capitalism is ill-equipped to handle this coming catastrophe, and no amount of reforming or greening it will save us. The only way forward is through the transition away from fossil fuels, and it can only be done on a nationalized, planned production under a socialist program and democratic workers' control.
Yeah. So I mean, as of right now, I mean, well said too, Aaron. It's just right now in the right time, it's just going to get worse. There, I think they've contained 6% of it's been contained. It's still going. It's not going to rain for another days. They said there's no rain coming at all. It's just one thing after another. It's just bad. And holy God! But the people who are out there doing doing the good work, thank you. Like I said, and I think that's what Bill Burr said too. Is like there's plenty like the internet. All those idiots on the internet are just talking shit, but the people actually doing something about it, helping people People are donating. People are helping out with clothing. People have lost everything, to see. I mean, you're right. I like the line you drew between that and Gaza because you're seeing people coming back screaming and crying that they've lost everything. Everything's gone. One thing we do, I mean, it's sad that I've kind of gotten numb to it in Gaza, but like your whole house everything's gone. It's been shelled. It's been destroyed. Your whole life you've built's been gone. And this, that's the other horror of it. Like, yeah, you can look, you can replace things, but not great. And if you're in Gaza, it's not going to get replaced. That's, my God. But anyway, that's all I got on that.
I can talk about Trudeau. That won't take very long.
Oh, yeah. So so let's talk about the president of Canada. I am always amazed by how your Congress works. So please enlighten us, for us who do not know of your foreign country, enlighten us. What happened? What is going on?
Isn't he the governor?
Oh, I'm sorry. Governor General. Is it Governor General?
No, it's just governor. That's what Trump called him.
Our illustrious,
really?
Illustrious and eternal leader.
Wow.
He's Fidel Castro's kid too.
I do like that.
He does kind of look. I'll just say that one's kind of whiffy. He does look. I don't know. All right, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, so some of you might be wondering what's going on in the little quiet neighbor to the north. Trudeau, our prime minister, been facing pressure from both inside and outside his party for months. A growing number of liberal parliamentarians have been asking him to move aside and let someone else tackle the Conservative Party, which has a commanding lead in the polls in the next election. Trudeau's repeatedly said that he planned to stay on as leader, but Chrystia Freeland's blunt resignation from cabinet on December 16th proved to be too sharp a rebuke of his leadership. Chrystia Freeland was our finance minister, kind of similar to basically like a vice president. So imagine if like Mike Pence had resigned under Trump, like that would have been a massive shit show. Or if like Kamala Harris resigned, that would have been a really, really big deal. If you lived in a country that mattered.
Right. Vice president doesn't have much here, but the idea of the high up, probably Speaker of the House might be more equivalent, I think, maybe because VPs don't do jack shit here.
So to quote Trudeau, this country deserves a real choice in the next election. It's become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election, he said. So Freeland resigned because she disagreed with Trudeau. Trudeau tried to hand out $250 to every Canadian to get through Christmas, but she saw that as like a political stunt to show up political support from the populace. Yeah, I don't know. For some reason,
that's the line in the sand. Okay, not arming genocide, but you're gonna get $200 to buy some alcohol.
I'll get into Freeland. I'll get into Freeland in a second.
She sounds like a real pip, that one.
She thought that this money should go towards resources for the coming tariff war between the U.S. With the U.S. and Trump. So for now, Trudeau is still the prime minister, head of the Liberal Party. He said he will step aside once a replacement is chosen for both roles. Meanwhile, Parliament will be prorogued or suspended until March 24th. So to prorogue or suspend Parliament requires an act from the Governor General. The Governor General is the king's voice in Parliament. So
you guys have a king?
We are a constitutional monarchy. We are not a democracy.
Fuck? Haven't you fixed that yet? Are you shitting me?
I'm not joking.
That's when?
So,
it's insane.
So the king has power to basically dismiss our parliament, and that is bestowed upon the Governor General. So our sessions are suspended. So because it's been prorogued, opposition parties who had originally planned a non-confidence motion to bring down Trudeau's minority government this month, they'll not have to wait months to do so. So if all opposition parties vote together on the motion, the Liberals will be defeated and an election will be set. All said, an election is unlikely to be held before spring. Parliament is scheduled to start a summer break no later than June 20th. if the Liberals are still in power by then, an election could be held as scheduled at the end of October. So that's kind of the nitty gritty of what's happening. Chrystia Freeland, you may remember, her grandfather wrote for a Nazi newspaper in Ukraine during World War II. She herself has
the front against Russia. Well, yes, I don't like. You sound like you like Putin. All right.
She has a educational background. It's either a master's or a PhD in like Ukrainian history and Ukrainian studies. And she was the one that organized the 93-year-old Waffen SS veteran who received a standing ovation in our parliament. So a lot of
how were they supposed to know? He's just
I know.
I mean, she has a master's degree. How was she supposed to know this shit?
This Ukrainian descendant. How was she supposed to know that this person was a fucking Nazi? I don't know.
Suspicious.
Honestly, anyone could have made that mistake.
I mean, it's kind of like learning German doesn't make you a Nazi. But when I found out that Richard Spencer was learning German, I got concerned. You know, like certain things, certain people are doing certain things. That's a bit suspicious when you know who your dad is, and you go, yeah, let's bring on this guy that fought the Russians. Which side was he on? I don't care. He fought the Russians, you know.
So Trudeau, I think, is facing like a 16% approval rating right now. Like it's bad. So
that's like George.
So
W. Bush.
he's like, I can't save this. It's looking like we're probably going to get a conservative majority government at the latest by October. So Trudeau resigning is just another symptom of the crisis of capitalism that we find ourselves in. Right, incumbent governments all over the world are getting tossed out because they were unable or unwilling to handle COVID and the economic crisis that it caused. Poilievre will likely win a majority vote in large part due to the depression of the center and left vote as the NDP. So it's kind of like our Labour Party. They discredited themselves because they hitched their wagon into supporting Trudeau. Because Trudeau is in a minority government, they said, we'll support you if you pass XYZ, some extremely mild pharmacare and dental programs.
Thank you for not saying XYZ.
So the Trudeau reign has been marred by forced back to work legislation of dock workers, longshoremen, postal workers, the funding of proxy wars in Ukraine and Israel, sicking the RCMP on peaceful indigenous protesters, protecting their sovereign land from oil pipelines, subsidizing said pipelines, bailing out corporations while taxing the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB. The list goes on. But the bad news is Pierre Poilievre will not fix any of these problems either, and will likely make them all far worse, while the rich continue to receive gigantic tax cuts, while conditions for working people continue to plummet. He will also throw in more culture war bullshit as he pins the blame on immigrants, trans people, Palestine solidarity protesters.
DEI, I'm sure, too. I hope he takes them on.
Sure, why not?
Oh, thank
Homeless
God.
people, in order to not only distract the rest of us from his economic policies, but carry forward the conservative ideology of gutting public education, gutting healthcare, every last social safety net we have. So hell, he might even go after abortion, birth control, and gay marriage, gender affirming care, that sort of stuff. Nothing's off the table with these freaks. So as the culture war rages on, we must stand in unconditional solidarity alongside our trans siblings, our immigrant and indigenous neighbors, our homeless citizens, as they will face relentless attacks in the early days of the coming administration. The only way we fight back is together. The coming period will show the ballot box is not our arena to enact change. It will be on the streets, organizing through our workplaces. Join a union today, at the family dinner table, and with our friends. So by trying to divide us, they will only force us to stand together, and that is something no political party can ever hope to undermine. So the coming period, we will see capitalism in Canada go from very bad to worse. So the time is now to get organized. Join a socialist organization. Join a reading group. Start understanding how we got into this mess, and more importantly, how do we get out? Is the Canadian working class doomed to the sometimes I call it the original sin of settler colonialism and labor aristocracy, or is there a way out to end this nightmare for all of us? I'd like to think we at least have a shot.
Ooh, all right, way to go. I think that's good. I always like knowing what's going on in Canada through you, because in America, we kind of view Canada as our plan B. Like, that's it. Fuck it. I'm going to Canada. Like, we're getting out of here. But
we got plenty of our own bullshit from here, mostly because like a lot of our media is American media that we consume.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's always like a couple years behind the U.S. I think
that's right.
Like
so
our bullshit comes over there.
Sometimes I say like, for very simple terms, Trudeau is basically our Obama, and now we're going to get our Trump idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way to go. So, and NDP, I mean, do they have, how are they on their own? I know they hitched the wagon to those people, but how is NDP going to handle this? Do they,
I don't know. They've shifted way far to the right. I think Jagmeet Singh, he seems like a nice guy, but he's very wealthy. He's very out of touch. He wears very expensive clothing and watches. I don't think he is the future of this party. This used to be that they used to have a socialist mandate in their constitution that was removed in 2011 under Jack Layton.
They got their own Blair movement.
We would not have universal health care if not for the NDP.
Tommy Douglas. Even I know that.
Wow, even you guys know that. Wow. Okay.
I'll be honest. I know. I used to copy that speech of Mouseland from him. That's how much I like Tommy Douglas. And not only did Tommy Douglas give you guys universal health care, they also gave us Donald and Kiefer Sutherland. Look it up. That's a true thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And by every poll, every study shows that all Canadians see Tommy Douglas as the greatest Canadian.
I know. That was amazing. Like, it was like a Super Bowl reaction. I saw that poll, how people were like losing their shit over it. There's video clips of it. Like,
and yet,
that's great.
And yet the NDP has never held federal power in this country.
No shit. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Huh.
It's very bizarre. It's just
the way they're acting, they're not gonna. That streak, unfortunately, is gonna keep going. It seems
it's a broken pendulum, and the pendulum only swings right. It's either goes to the far right or middle right, and it just yeah. Anyway, that's Canadian politics in a nutshell, and that's kind of the bombshell that we're dealing with up here.
All right, well, that's okay. I'm just gonna jump off a bridge after hearing all that podcasting stuff. Real hopeful thing, but I can't segue into something hopeful right now.
Well, at least I tried to towards the end there.
You did, and that was good. There is, I think there was something I read recently about how when the Nazis were doing their victory march through Paris, I think in 41. I think a German officer went to like a French soldier. And he was just kind of like, hey, we got this one. And he goes, I think the French goes, yeah, you have power for now. It's eventually that pendulum will swing left. I do believe that. When? I can't tell you. But eventually, I've been around when Occupy happened, when the Black Lives Matter protests happened. Like, they kind of came out of nowhere. And then they just ignited it. But I think our forces are getting more organized, especially on the left. I mean, we're small right now, but, we do have some candidates locally, open socialists who are got very good reaction, strong showings in the polls when they ran for local office. I do feel that's happening. I think Red Note, what if Red Note does it? Who knows? But maybe we could have Red Note be.
There's like the Orwellian view, like, like a boot stamping on the human face forever, like this very dystopian view. I understand where it comes from, and Orwell was very bad by the end of his life, but that kind of pessimism is like, it's not warranted. And it's cliche to say this, but I think it's true, is the situation we live in is not permanent. And I want to read a quote from someone I greatly admire, Louis-Auguste Blanqui, a French communist. And he said, "To judge from the current disposition of people's minds, communism isn't exactly knocking on the door, but nothing is as deceptive as the situation because nothing is so changeable." The fact is, like, the contradictions of capitalism exist. They're not going anywhere, and they're not going to be overcome by Trump, by the Social Democrats, by any force you name. They're going to exist, and in ways that we will not be able to expect it or predict it. There will be outbreaks of struggle, and it is our job, of course, to galvanize that, organize that, lead it to a better future. And as long as the system exists, there's going to be resistance to it. So yeah, maybe we can't point to this thing like directly on the horizon now, and I grant you that. But I think, like, again, if we're Marxists, if we're scientific socialists, we can say, listen, things will change. We may not be able to give you the date and the time or the when and the where, but we can tell you that struggle is going to happen. And hopefully we can ride that wave to something better.
They call it the law, apartheid, internment, conscription, partition, and silence. It's a law that they made to keep me and you where they think we belong. They live behind steel and bulletproof glass, machine guns and spice. and tell us who suffer the tear gas and the torture that we're in the wrong. No time for love if they come in the morning, no time to show fear or for tears in the morning. No time for goodbyes, no time to ask why. And the wail of the siren is a cry of the morning. The trade union leaders, the writers, the rebels, the fighters and all, and the strikers who fought with the cops at the factory gates, the sons and the daughters of unnumbered heroes who paid with their lives. And the poor focus class, or creed or belief was their only mistake. No time for love if they come in the morning, no time to show fear or for tears in the morning. No time for goodbyes, no time to ask why. And the wail of the siren is a cry of the morning. They suffered the torture, they rotted in cells, went crazy, wrote letters and died. The limits of pain